Hi everyone. As usual, I am coming to you from downtown Denver and just want to make sure that everything is working here on Facebook before I jump into more of the meat of this. It does look like things are going now. Okay, great. And as usual, so far it hasn't been too bad, but as usual, my disclaimer that there could be any sorts of noises coming from outside my windows, be it for construction or whatever other exciting downtown things might be going on. So, thank you so much for joining me. And I want to let the contest winners know from the last couple weeks ago that they should either have already received their boxes or at the very latest tomorrow. So if you don't have them by tomorrow or Monday, please reach out to me again and I will make sure I see what's going on with those. And I really hope you enjoy them. Thanks again for supporting me. For those of you who don't know me or joining me for the first time, I worked in the corporate behavior change industry for over 20 years. And as much as I really loved my job in that field, I feel passionate and compelled to bring those skills and knowledge and depth of resources directly to you. So I do this because I enjoy it, I love connecting with people, and more than anything, I really love hearing your stories. Hello, Sarah Gabriel. Thank you so much for joining today. If you're looking for small, intelligent, actionable ways to change your life, make it better, make the world better, change other people's lives, this is the place to be. I try to keep these fairly short and digestible, but I would love to hear your stories, hear your thoughts, and any other topics that you might want me to talk on as well as I continue to develop this series. On that note, today I am so excited to share a story about one of our viewers. This is Sarah P., and she contacted me a few weeks ago after the Micro Steps video, which you can go back and find from a couple weeks ago, and said how she had been frustrated in her job and sort of had lost motivation to figure out what to do next. And so she took that Micro Steps idea and just started implementing small, intentional changes towards improving her job situation. And I don't want to share too much at this point because I am still working with her and she's in very exciting negotiations right now. She actually, just through these steps, approached her current employer, had a conversation that didn't initially go how she had wanted. The employer wasn't quite willing to explore some of the areas she wanted to go into. So she took that to be an inspiration to look for some other potential work out there. Found another job that she was so excited about. I got an email from her and I could just feel the energy and the happiness and the sort of new leaf in life energy in her email. So I coached her a little bit on some of these topics on discussing things with her new employer, and lo and behold, she got that job, super exciting, and then went back to her previous employer. And as you can imagine, the previous employer said, well, wait a minute, I do value you and let's continue this conversation. So Sarah and I are going to continue talking today and I'll be coaching her going forward. And I'm so excited for her that those micro steps not only led to some great momentum for change in her life, but that I'm able to share that journey with her and help her hopefully get the best possible outcome for her life goals and her happiness. So congratulations, Sarah. I just wanted to pat you on the back, not myself, this is you, pat you on the back, and really give you my full support and my best wishes in your next steps, because I know you're going to do great. On to today's topic. Last week I touched on why saying no can be so important in your life. I won't reiterate that right now, but if you missed last week's, you can always go back and view it again. And you can even view it at 1.5 or 2 times the speed if you don't have the full time to watch it. So this week I'm going to go more into the reasons we all, most of us, say no or say yes when we really probably want to or should say no. And then I'll talk about some ways that when we're in those situations to identify them and change the way that we approach them and say no or say things that will lead us to a better outcome, whether that's a no or not. That's where we're going with this today. This is such an interesting topic, and I've gotten feedback from a few people, one who's even a counselor, who said how much this topic resonated with her clients as well, and that she's sharing these videos with them too. So that really inspired me to go deeper into this topic. Why we say yes when it's not in our best interest. There's often a desire to please people in many of us. We are evolutionarily a social creature. Being shunned by our tribe is like the worst punishment you can ever have, even worse than being insulted or yelled at. So the idea of saying yes to things to remain a cohesive part of the tribe, the society, your group of friends, is a very natural, innate, inherent, biological need that we've had to survive throughout our history. So by no means am I saying that this is, oh, you know, just suck it up and say no when you mean it. It's not that simple. If it were, this would be a 5-second live broadcast. Just say no. Geez, where have I heard that before? That worked out so well in the 80s, didn't it? So acknowledging that there's this desire inherent in all of us to generally please our social group. A fear, the flip side of that desire is a fear of hurting people too. You don't necessarily want to feel responsible for someone else's pain. I'm going to go through this list of reasons, and then I will talk a little bit more about how to mitigate each one of these. The next one would be not wanting to appear selfish. There's sort of an altruistic feeling to saying yes to things. There's a difference between appearing selfish and taking care of yourself and being self-aware. So I think we all have a desire not to be seen as sort of that, that person is so greedy, selfish, you know, sort of a negative connotation to some of those terms. One that I also find happens more often now that I'm aware of it is just being caught off guard. Somebody makes a request that you weren't expecting, and it's almost just a knee-jerk reaction without giving it full thought or asking enough questions to feel pressured to answer in the moment and default to yes. The next one is a little bit more complicated, and each of you can think for yourselves what may resonate for you or not. These are just possibilities. There's a psychological theory called transactional analysis, and I won't go too deeply into that right now, but there's this idea of being in a child state, and that doesn't mean you're childish, and there's a negative and a positive side. Being childlike can be fun and playful, but there's a side to being in a child mindset, a child state, of where you feel like there's an authority figure that you owe a duty to, that you feel like you must obey. And certain people in certain situations can trigger that child mindset in us. And that's where there can almost be the sense of, well, I have to say yes because it's my duty. They're the boss of me. They're my parental figure. They're my authority figure. So that's something to be aware of, is if there are certain situations or people or words or what have you that trigger you to kind of feel like a little bit lesser or duty bound to this person. Obviously, I'm not telling you if you get pulled over by a cop that you should just say no to everything. There are certain times where the authority is kind of real, but keep that in mind that that's a possibility. Reciprocity. If I say yes, then you are going to owe me something. Now I have filled the reservoir of goodwill, and I can call out this favor from you later. So there's sometimes sort of a self-interested, I want you to owe me one, obligatory feeling to why we might say yes to certain things. Fear of incompetence. Ooh, this one gets me. This is kind of my, when I say what resonates. If I say no, they'll think I can't handle it. I want to be seen as a superhero. I can do it all. I can have it all. I want to show people how competent I am. That doesn't always work out the way I hope. There's kind of a secondary piece to that too, is the hero aspect of it. If something needs to be done and I can do it, then I get some sort of validation from being the one who could jump in and save the situation or take this burden off this person, and they'll really appreciate me for it. So in certain situations, it feeds our own ego to feel a little bit heroic about saying yes, where someone else couldn't step in and do it. The other one that speaks to me is an allure of something new. There are times I want to just jump in and say yes to something because it just sounds like different and fun and exciting without really giving it enough thought of, is this a good choice for me? Do I have time to do this? Like, no, this will be a fun trip. I'm going to just jump right in. Yeah, that can potentially lead to overcommitting. And then the last one, I don't like to dwell on the negative too often, but this is a reality for many of us, is that there may be situations in our lives we want to avoid. So by keeping ourselves so busy, saying yes to everything, overcommitting, it doesn't give us much time for self-reflection. There may be struggles going on that we just really don't feel like we want to face right now. So this can be tricky, but that's something to be aware of, that there's this overcommitting tendency that we can all have from time to time. It's not like you just have it or you don't, to just do things that distract us from what may really need attention in our lives. So that's a quick rundown of some of the behavioral motivations that may lead to saying yes when you really perhaps either should think it over a little more, should give a softer yes, or should say no. I'll just quickly run down them again and think about whether they may or may not resonate for you in particular. The desire to please, the fear of hurting someone, not wanting to appear selfish, being caught off guard and saying yes out of surprise, feeling like you're a child dealing with an authority figure and duty bound to say yes. Reciprocity, you may want this favor returned to you someday, you want them in your debt. Fear of feeling or looking incompetent, fear of them feeling like you can't handle it, wanting to be seen as a superhero, the allure of a new fun thing, and perhaps a corollary to that is avoiding something you don't want to deal with in life. And finally, feeling like you want to be the one to step in and be the hero and save the day. So along those lines, here's quick tips on ways you might be able to say no once you've identified that you may be kind of playing one of those games with yourself or jumping into a situation that you may not be in your best interest. First of all, ask for more time, especially in that surprise situation. Just taking that moment to pause and say, let me think on it. I need to check my schedule. Can I get back to you tomorrow? Anything along those lines, even if that's not really true, even if you just kind of need that breathing room to not react immediately, you're better off giving yourself that space and not needing it than having to backpedal after you've said yes when you really meant no. We all understand what it feels like to be overbooked. So rather than just saying no, some phrases along the lines of, I just can't take on any more right now, but I appreciate you thinking of me. Is this something I could start in April? Is this something I could help you with in a smaller way? And finally, one of the things I like to do along this line is if I know someone who would be interested and capable of helping, saying, you know, I can't take on any more right now, but may I introduce you to my friend John, who I think would be extremely interested in working with you on this opportunity. So the fact that you're saying no, but you also are committing to what I would call the 5-minute favor, making an introduction, giving them a resource that might be helpful, is a nice way to show that you're genuinely interested in their situation, but just really are overbooked. So those are 2 things just to consider. Give yourself extra time. Allow them to understand that you appreciate that they came to you, that you're just overbooked. And then finally, the last thing I want to mention today about this is don't be wishy-washy. Once you have said no, if you allow yourself to keep rethinking it, kind of go back and forth, if you don't commit to that no, it can actually be worse than saying yes. I have certainly put myself in a situation where I've thought I've made a decision, and a no can even be something like breaking up with somebody. Anytime you're trying to set a boundary or say no to something, going back and forth, prolonging that, making the same decision over and over again can be one of the worst situations to drag yourself through. So in order to help avoid that, once you have said whatever sort of no you came up with, start to really think about what that allows to come into your life. You now have more free time, whether that's just to relax, sit in your pajamas on the couch watching Netflix. Focus on why that no is important to you, and don't continue to think about the consequences for that person, because in a way you don't really know what that might have been the best thing, and you may introduce them to a new resource that way, or you may have helped them change their plan to be something more realistic. We tend to dwell on and sometimes overemphasize what our actions do to others, and it can also almost even get a little bit narcissistic, thinking that, oh, I have so much power and importance over this person's life that that one no that I just said is tragic. So keep in mind to yourself that you did this to be your own best friend, for your own benefit. That's it for today. I am finding that this topic is resonating with quite a few people, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me in whatever form of media is best for you. If there is a topic you want me to go deeper into, if something I mentioned in one of these Facebook Live videos struck a chord and you just want to share a story, if you want my thoughts on anything, it's always nice to get somebody outside of your situation. If there's a new perspective on something, I would love to hear from you. I always include a link at the end to schedule time with me. And a quick hello, Julie Bradley. It's so nice to see you. Thank you. And Sarah, thank you for asking about my coaching. I do have a few limited spots available, and I will reach out to you, Sarah, with some information on that. Please share this video if you know anybody that you think might benefit from it. And I want to tell you all how much better you make my life and my day by showing up here during these, because I really do enjoy connecting with people. It's one of the things that took me a while to figure out in life, but I now know how important it is to me to take what I've learned and help try to make everybody else's lives better in any way that I can with it. There's too much struggle in this world not to focus on the positives. So please try to make someone else's day better today, be that through a compliment, a smile, and if you can't make someone else's day better, at least make your own. Goodbye from Denver, and I will see you hopefully at this time next week.